This video will look at the Mass Batch Change feature found in WilloWare's GP PowerPack for Microsoft Dynamics GP. Mass Batch Change is a utility for quickly transferring a large number of documents between batches. Mass Batch Change can transfer documents between batches for the following transactions: SOP transactions, receivable transactions, cash receipts, payables transactions, manual payments, inventory assembly transactions, purchasing invoice transactions, and purchasing receipts. Let's take a look at the window. The restriction builder in Mass Batch Change can create complex restriction criteria using a large number of fields from the transaction. The query can then be saved and reused. First, we'll enter a query ID if we do plan to save the query. Then we can enter a description of the query that can be used when using the lookup. The next field is the batch source field. This field contains all the various transactions to which its batch ID can be updated. Then we are required a destination batch ID. So we'll enter a destination batch ID, and if the batch ID does not exist, you'll be asked to add it. Now we can start building our restriction. The first drop-down contains many of the fields that belong to the transaction. These values will change depending on what the batch source is. In this case, we're looking at sales transactions, so it will contain many fields from the SOP header as well as the SOP line, and also the user-defined fields. So let's start by selecting a SOP type, and now we can choose whether we want it to equal, not equal to, contains, and in this case we'll choose equals, and then we'll say where it equals order. Once we have created our complete query, we'll add it to the list. So from here, I can choose Find, which will retrieve a list of all the documents in GP that have a SOP type equal to order. And so I have a long list. Now I can further restrict that by saying, okay, now give me the ones where the customer ID equals or contains Aaron. Now when I choose Find, it has restricted my list even further. So from my restricted list, I can then choose a subset of the items by using my Control Select, or I can choose the entire list by Shift Select. In this case, I'm only going to choose the first document, and I'm going to click Transfer. And then it asks, do you want to transfer all selected documents to demo? And I will say yes. So now I'm just going to refresh the list to bring the document back in, and now if I double click on it, it will open the document in Sales Transaction Entry, and you can see the batch ID did indeed update to demo. We also have the option to create a custom query if the drop-downs do not give enough flexibility for your needs. So let's try a new one. I will save this one, and I will start a new one called Demo 2. And again, I'll use sales transactions, and I'll create a new batch called Demo 2. And then now I'm using a new batch, but of course you can move these documents to an existing batch if you choose. So instead of using the drop-downs here, I'm going to open up the custom query window. Now this window is a lot like entering a SQL query in SQL Management Studio. I have one pre-created, and so I will copy it into this window. In this case, I want to select all the documents where there is an MO attached to it. Okay, and I'll click Save. And when I click Find, it goes into the database and it pulls all the orders in which I have a manufacturing order assigned to the line. So if I double click on a line, we can see I do in fact have a manufacturing order assigned to it. And the batch ID is currently SOP orders. So now the process is the same. I can select a group of orders and I can click Transfer. I will refresh the window, and as we can see, the batch number has changed to Demo 2. The reason the batch number and item number fields are displayed on the window is because they were part of my custom query. So this process is the same regardless of which batch source you choose to use. Once a query ID is set up, it can be retrieved later without the requirements to enter in new restrictions. So I can recall the demo query that I'd saved previously, and all the restriction criteria is there. So now I just need to click Find to find a new list of documents that meet this criteria, select the items, and transfer them to a different batch. In addition, the custom query window contains its own security so that only power users, for instance, can access the custom queries and build those, but the regular users that might use this window really only have access to these three drop-downs. For more information about this or any of our other products, please visit us at willowware.com or email sales@willowware.com.